What up, what up, what up, Mo? It's good to see you, my boy.
What's happening, Chief?
Man, you know what it is. We are moving and grooving. I'm finally kind of in the space that you are operating in from the capacity of you're just constantly on the go. Literally, where I'm kind of semi-dressed up is had an event tonight, networking event, left that, and shot over here to the podcast. After this, we're going to go smoke some more and do some more networking. But, man, I'm excited. I feel like, I don't know, I'm going off the dome here and kind of off the cuff, but, one of my brothers is in the building. Will Harris has come back to bless us here in the Vision Lab, and I'm super stoked and excited about it, man. So I want to jump into it. What up, Will?
Had to come redo everything, man.
No.
Not pleased with the first one.
So. No, you crushed it. So for you visionaries that are tuning in, go back and check out Will's first episode. Show him some love. I thought it was very, very on time and on point. You did your thing, man. But, I wanted to have this kind of, gentleman's roundtable discussion about entrepreneurialism, right? 2024, we're getting ready to go into Q4. And it's still a major buzzword that exists. And Will, you obviously own a business that I'm a part of in the hustle, marketing, and design. Everything that we do, everything that we kind of have built, well, you've built, and then I'm now come on board. But like from an entrepreneur standpoint, I heard this this quote earlier today, and I shared it with you. And it's a Dave Ramsey. I heard it from Dave Ramsey, so I'll give him the credit. But, you work 3 to 5 years, giving it everything you got so that you don't ever have to work again. And when I heard that, I immediately thought of you because the gentleman that was talking about that quote said it's complete BS. Mm-hmm. And, Mo's now into the entrepreneurial realm.
I've been in it.
I go back and forth with being an entrepreneur, but I'm 10 toes down right now with it. And so I just want to hear from you, as we start the show off, if somebody was to say, hey, you just got to bust your hump for 3 to 5 years and, and not to say it's on autopilot, but then you can live the lifestyle that you want to live that nobody else is living. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think I can agree with that. Because I feel like a true entrepreneur wants to do the hard work and bust their ass until they're done. And I like for myself, I don't see retirement. I'm scared of retirement. Everybody I've heard that retires, they're fucked up, they're sick, they're having health issues or mental issues,
facts.
And I'm just I don't want to
start to die.
Yeah, I don't. Well, I always said this: if you lose your purpose, is when you start to die.
Yeah.
And so when you retire, it's like I'm not a gardener. I don't want to mow the yard.
You don't have a green thumb?
Yeah, fuck no. So, I want to live, a certain lifestyle, but with that lifestyle, I want to be able to feel like I'm contributing to my purpose in doing that and having the businesses that I have and starting the things that I'm doing does that for me. So I don't want to let that go.
When you build something, it's a lot like having a child, You're super hands-on from the day of its inception. You watch it start to pick up a little bit of steam, and then maybe it falls down, and you got to mend it back together, and then you pick it back up, and it starts to progress again, and then out of nowhere something else happens, right? And so, when we hear statements like bust your ass for 3 to 5 years, doing things that no one else does so you can live the lifestyle that no one else lives. It's so interesting that as an entrepreneur, like this is why I feel like it's so cliche, right? Or so it's like a hip word right now. You know what I mean? And because that's not how entrepreneurs think. It's like, dude, I've built this from the ground up, and I'll be damned if I'm just going to work 3 to 5 years and rest on my laurels.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's when failure starts to come to place is when you become complacent.
Mm-hmm.
So you work 3 to 5 years and then you think that everything's on autopilot, but it's not because your competitors are not doing the same thing. And that's when you get left behind and your business starts to fail.
I think from one entrepreneur to another, I think the whole 3 to 5 year thing, if you're being realistic with yourself, that's the amount of time it'll probably take to where you can really, really feel stable on your own 2 feet. Not necessarily autopilot, but to where you can really feel like, okay, I know my basic needs and bills and stuff like that are gonna. What I got going is gonna take care of that. Now that's when it really gets started, because, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Will. Now it's like, okay, I got my feet squarely underneath it. Now what type of impact am I going to make? What am I going to do to really, I don't even say quote unquote, change the game or whatever. What am I going to do to leave my mark on whatever it is what am I going to be remembered by? I'm not worried about paying my bills anymore. Now it's about what can I do that really pushes the envelope to the next level.
And it's so interesting that you said the word impact, and I want to get both of y'all's take on this, and you can answer his question too, Will, but I just heard this, and tell me what you think. Impact over income.
Well, I mean, my thing is, I'm not ever going to do anything for income. I did right out of college.
It doesn't seem sustainable.
Well, I worked for an oil and gas company. I made a whole lot of money and worked nonstop every week, and it was just pointless. Like, it was like, I hated it. I hated every bit of it. And so the moment that I started what I really wanted to do, which was, build a business and do marketing and such, because that's what I've done for so long, that's when, quote unquote, real money started coming in.
Yeah.
But I wasn't looking at it from a dollar value. I was looking at it of doing what I enjoyed every day. And then I'd find myself, getting up at 5 just to go to the gym and get that out of the way so I could work for the rest of the day. And then I'd work till 8, 9 o'clock at night and not even feel like I worked, because I was thoroughly doing something that I really, truly enjoyed.
I think they go hand in hand. I think when you really find the lane that you're supposed to be occupying, when you're really in the space where it's like, okay, I belong in this realm, I think impact and income kind of go hand in hand. Like, you already know going in, okay, this is the goal, this is the task we're trying to accomplish. The income part will come with it, because what I'm going to do is going to make such an impact that the compensation part will take care of itself.
Exactly. And that's where I'm at too, is that I've been and made a good amount of money as I focused on the income. Mm-hmm. But what I have found is that for me, in my experience, it wasn't sustainable, right? And what I mean by sustainable was I could not scale that, mm-hmm. right? And so as I look for opportunities to be impactful, I'm starting to learn, that footprint that it's leaving is greater, and it has no pun intended, but it has such a larger impact that it starts to become more and more residual. So the income is already there, if that makes sense.
I would agree. It's welcome to my world, right?
Yeah.
It's an interesting space, man. I've truly been in it like full time for knock on door 3 years now. And it's just one of those things to where you just got to, I'm sure Will can speak to it. You just got to keep at it. You got to keep at it. I mean, you went from the oil and gas business to marketing. Like, that is 2 completely different avenues.
Yeah. So like, let's hear the story again. How did you, like, why would you go from oil and gas? We're in Texas, right? You're from Louisiana, but I mean, like, Texas is oil and gas. Like, why would you go into, the marketing world?
Well, first off, we'll back up even more than that. I listened to an advisor in high school, and that was, I don't want to say that was my first mistake, but that was my first mistake. Personally,
well, were they an advisor or just your regular everyday guidance counselor?
This was my high school at the time, and some high schools have this. They have advisors, they're college advisors.
Yeah, for sure.
This is, you go to college. This is the degree you need to go after because of XYZ.
Not even knowing you.
Yeah, not even really knowing who you are. They do it based on, what's happening at that time, like what's paying, what's kind of the hype job. And at the time for me, was three things: petroleum engineer, physical therapist, because they just launched a doctorate program for them, and then of course med school, being a doctor. So I chose the biology route of going to med school. Hated it. Like, I found myself bored as can be, but I wanted a simple, life of making money. And so that's the route I went. So I fought against the whole, entrepreneurial route, even though that was something that sales and business and everything it's just who I was. And so I had started building businesses all through, I did some in high school, I was doing some in college, and still just ignored it based off of what this one advisor told me to do. I got burnt out on school in college, hated school, and went the oil and gas route because I was offered a lot of money and literally no more school. So I went that route.
They didn't tell you the physical pounding.
They didn't tell me the physical pounding and the 21 days on, 7 days off, the 16-hour, 18-hour days. They didn't tell you any of that shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that for a couple of years, and I realized real quick this is not what I wanted to do. So then I got into the marketing aspect of oil and gas. I was a cement engineer for Schlumberger. So that's where I started the oil and gas life. So I got into sales and marketing for oil and gas companies, but oil and gas companies they're a roller coaster. Like, you have your highs, your lows, and you're constantly being laid off because of private equities coming in, buying businesses, stripping it down,
slashing and burning,
laying everybody off, and so there's no loyalty there,
and it's understood that like that's going to happen.
Yeah, and you don't even stress about it. You're like, I got laid off today. I'll get another position in a week. No big deal, So then I got into marketing and sales in oil and gas, and I've literally built up 2 businesses and their departments in sales and marketing, and very successful businesses, and got laid off from both of them. And at that point I was like, I'm not doing this shit anymore. I know what I'm doing. I know how to manage people. I know how to sell. I'm going to do my own thing. And it was at a height of COVID, and
I was going to ask you, like, what time of, like, give us a reference point.
It was a height of COVID, and the digital had a huge presence at that time.
Sure.
There was no face-to-face interaction.
No.
It was digital sales. It was shipping at one point. So that was the big thing for businesses to survive, and so ultimately that's what I dove into, and I dove into how can I save companies money? And I was doing some consulting. That's where I really started. And we got a very large school account, which was our first account. It ended up being a website that I bit off more than I can chew, but luckily.
Don't be modest. Let's talk about the story, because you and I have talked about this. I think our visionaries need to hear, because it speaks to having that true entrepreneur mindset, right? Mm-hmm. You were asked to do if you could do websites.
Yeah. So the real story is I was podcasting. At the time, and I kind of still do. I had my own podcast. It was The Hustle with Will Harris, and a lady there by the name of DK Fox, she was amazing at PR. She came in and said, my school needs a website. And I really just threw it out there. I was like, oh, we can do it. And she was like, oh, I didn't even know y'all did websites. And I'm thinking in my head, I was like, I didn't even know there was a y'all. but so anyway.
Who is we?
Yeah. French. Yes. And so anyway, I go back, and she, I didn't even have a LLC, and I didn't have a domain, I didn't have an email, I didn't have anything. And I made it happen that night. I got on Google and bought a domain and a Gmail account, so I at least looked the part, and got the scope of work. And the scope of work was, it was like 15 pages long. It was a 110-page website, and so then I was like, shit, I'm in trouble. So, but that's that sink or swim moment that every entrepreneur, I believe, needs to go through, because that's what's going to tell you if you belong in that realm. It's either you're going to figure it out, or you're going to fail, and you're going to fail miserably. And so I called a friend at the time that does websites and was really good at it. And I said, man, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I want to start a business with you. I'll go get the work and you build the websites. And he was like, okay. And I said, oh, good. I'm going to send you the work because I already got it.
Right.
So I sent it
to him.
True
salesman right there. Yeah, see what he did?
Yeah. So I sent it to him, and he was like, holy shit, how did you get this? And I was like, man, just networking and a good friend.
Just going, man.
Yeah.
You just,
And
I say it all the time. You just got to go.
And he knocked it out of the park. He built an amazing website. It got our business featured into, a couple of big time publications. And then the calls just started coming in. And then to kind of solidify our business and get some really good revenue coming in, there was a local competitor in Shreveport, Louisiana. And for the sake of professionalism, we're not going to use names. But they had a tactic to where they would pretty much ultimately rent websites to companies. They would go to the company and they say, hey, for $350, we'll build you a website. But in the small print, for startups and young entrepreneurs that didn't have the money to buy out a full website, they never owned it. So they were going to pay $350 for the rest of their life as long as they were in business. Well,
Good Lord.
That gets expensive after 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
It's like a slave record contract.
And so I found that out, and then so I started targeting these businesses, and that was our advertisement. That was our campaign. I don't want to disrupt your cash flow. You'll pay the same amount to us that you're paying this competitor. The only difference is we're going to put you on a payment plan with this, and then after so many payments, you're paid off, and the website's yours.
It's yours.
Yeah. I picked up 25 clients in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, this is you and one other person in your wee company, right?
Yeah,
So-
we run very lean.
So, and that was, several years ago. But one of the things I do want to touch on is, and I think that it's important, especially for young entrepreneurs to understand, is the ability, and Mo loves to say this all the time, is the ability to build the parachute on the way down.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You took an opportunity, certainly a leap of faith.
Yeah, there's no parachute. I hope there's water below me.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, you got to be able to take that. Like, so talk to our visionaries about like what type of mentality, what type of mindset do you really have to have when you're diving into, whatever industry that you choose to work in.
You got to take risk. You have to. I'm not bringing politics in, but it is the only example that I know off the top of my head. But you have businessmen like a Donald Trump that has gone through bankruptcy multiple times. He took risks. There's other people that I know that did the same thing. They took risk and they weren't scared of doing stuff. You can't be scared of failure. I have businesses under my belt that failed, like 100%. Probably more businesses failed than I had succeed.
Seeing people don't talk about that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, hell yeah. I have so many businesses that failed. I've had partnerships that failed. I've lost friends over partnerships and businesses. Like that all exists and it all happens. But, I took the chance, but it also told me who was really a friend and who was an acquaintance, which as an entrepreneur, that's one of the first things you need to learn is the difference between an actual friend in your circle and an acquaintance that just wants to use you. And I learned that. I had what I thought was a friend at the time want to do a fitness business, and I was all game for it. Well, the guy wanted to do this BS coaching stuff, like, hey, this guy coaches fitness marketing and we need to use him. And I'm like, dude, I do this for a living. No, you don't need to use him. And he's like, no, we need to do it at $6,000. It's got to be good. I was like, dude, I'm not paying for that. This guy lied to his wife and said that I upfronted the money, and he actually took it out of their 401k.
$6,000?
$6,000 out of him and his wife's 401k.
That's a problem.
Without, yeah. And then I found that out. Like, he was like, hey, by the way, I need you to say that you paid for it if you ever get asked by my wife. And I was like, dude, I'm out. Like, no. Like, if you're willing to lie to your wife about money, fuck, man, you're going to lie to me.
Oh, 100%.
So I'm done. I'm out. Like, I don't want no part
That's
of that.
That's astute of you.
Yep.
Well, pun intended. I would say,
see what I did there?
Yeah, I did see that. When he's talking about taking risk, and I said a long time ago, when you're first starting out, you're really trying to make something happen from like the ground, like with your own two hands, and you're just trying to, for lack of a better term, figure it out. You gotta be willing to go to the edge. You gotta be willing to go where other people aren't willing to go, because it's what's inside your head, right? So you can't really expect others to understand it anyway. Along the journey, you will find people who kind of get it, but you've got to be willing to go to where other people aren't willing to go. You gotta be willing, I'm sure as you know, you gotta be willing to stay up and send an extra email. When everyone else is asleep, you gotta be willing to get up. Like, you gotta be willing to do all those extra things to get that baby up and walking on its own. Then you can get to some back to some form of normalcy. But when, you know, we're talking about entrepreneurship, and, you know, we've talked about it all the time, like, it's not sexy. Like, it's bloody.
I don't know.
It's grimy. It's gritty. Like, you got to have a strong stomach to really make it happen.
You know what entrepreneurship is?
It's service to other people, and when you really think about it, you're
Right.
really it's service to others.
But what it is it's the final physique of a somebody that's in shape, right? They work out and you see their posts on Instagram, but you have no idea the dietary restrictions that they have, the waking up at 5 a.m. to work out, the making sure you have the right sleep, making sure you're meditating, all that stuff that goes in it. The iceberg effect, right?
Yeah.
The things that you're doing that is beyond underneath the surface level that nobody sees. You know, it's me getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, working till 2 o'clock in the morning the next day, getting 2 hours of sleep, and still having to get up and grind the next day.
Oh yeah, 100%. Let me ask you a personal question. When you go to the bathroom and shit, what do you do?
Get on my phone, send emails.
Yep, that's what I do. I'm not scrolling through social
I
media.
get on my phone, send emails, or I read.
I'm sending.
I was gonna say wipe.
100%.
Well, I would hope that is
Well,
kind of a prerequisite.
That's the first thing that I thought of.
I'm 100% sending like LinkedIn messages. Hey, can we have a chance to just chat?
No, but keep going though, because that's good, because it's every second of every day you are thinking about the business, how to grow the business, how to accentuate the business, how to make the business, how to make the brand more notable or seen or recognized or whatever it is, how to build a relationship. So, a lot of people right now in this day and age, they just think entrepreneurism is sexy. Right?
Oh yeah, they call it. Yeah, 100%.
It's just cool to say.
It's a fad.
It's
a fad, and it didn't even become. It wasn't even a thing until
it got trendy during COVID because everyone was at the house.
Well, then you had Gary Vee come.
Well, yeah, that's where I was.
Gary Vee. Gary Vee made the word
before.
Entrepreneur big.
Yeah, it's
He
been
did.
before that, but
Yeah.
you have like crops of people, right? So
Yeah.
you got your Gary Vee, your Grant Cardones, and nothing wrong with those gentlemen, right? But
Yeah,
like,
but I don't even know if Grant Cardone even. I don't. Does he even use that word?
oh, he I'm sure he did in the mid '90s.
Yeah.
You know, but those type of people, like I would actually say probably before COVID, like 2010, 2012 is when it really started, because you started having people become social media influencers. And I think that's really the paradox, right? Like, people are saying entrepreneur, but they really want to be an influencer.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother topic of quote unquote influencing, and I would tell you, my Instagram peaked a couple of years ago, but one thing that I really realized, and I don't remember what musician said this, but it fucking hit
Probably
home.
Nipsey.
But it was 1 million followers is not $1 million,
That is the truth.
and my Instagram has about whatever 10,000, which today's on today is not a lot. A couple of years ago, quite a bit, but whatever. I can tell you right now, I haven't not pulled a single client off of Instagram, not one, and that was a reality check for me, because it was just like, do I need this to stroke my ego, because it put strain on relationships that I was in, because I was finding myself
Trying to figure out how to make that work.
Yep. And so like it got to a point to where, and if you go look, like I'll post every once in a while, but there's no content. There's no, there's not a lot of content going on. I'm not posting, a bunch of times a week or anything like that. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't work for other people and other businesses. I'm just saying that's something that you have to evaluate and see if the juice is worth the squeeze when you're doing that.
Yeah. It may work in some industries, but it's not a target for you.
No.
One thing that I work with you at The Hustle. Thank you for the opportunity. It's been a blast working with you. one thing that I've learned over the last several months is that you have a heart for teaching and coaching and mentoring the next crop. We've had conversations multiple times on how to bridge that gap, and that's something that's extremely important to you. I want to talk about that, but specifically underneath the umbrella of something that I think you have an announcement that you'd like to make here on the Vision Lab podcast.
Yeah, so the success of the Hustle brand has done really well. It's been an amazing blessing for us, and we got to a point to where we wanted to do something to give back, and that then created the Hustle Foundation.
Yes.
And so that is our nonprofit where we have already gained a lot of traction to where we are putting young entrepreneurs and startups through mentorship programs and coaching programs, and then towards the end, after they complete these, giving them startup funds and scholarships to go towards their business as they see fit after they go through these programs, so they know how to allocate these funds correctly.
So why is this so important to you?
Because
the Hustle Foundation.
The Hustle Foundation is important to me because not everybody has that guidance of, mentors are great. I have a lot of mentors and they've helped me get to where I am, but not everybody has, the opportunity or the reach of mentors. Their parents probably maybe work a 9-to-5 and they don't have that knowledge of how to start a business. I didn't have that knowledge of starting a business.
Most people don't.
No. And my parents worked their ass off and they lived that American dream of 9-to-5, 401k, business. Pensions and mom's a teacher and work and have kids and buy a house and all that stuff. And so that's what they were trying to instill with me. The problem was I didn't want that. And not that what they were trying to tell me was wrong. It's just that wasn't for me. And so, I didn't know about an LLC. Our educational system doesn't teach a lot of entrepreneurship.
Yes,
they don't teach taxes. They don't teach things that are everyday living that we can use. I have a mentor on taxes, strictly just taxes, on how to do certain things. And it has got me so far ahead in life, just listening to a CPA saying, well, you need to do this and you need to write that off, and this, you got to do it this way because it's completely legal, and you need to buy, such and such stuff at the end of the year because it's a tax write-off. And that helped me so much, and it caused me to do other reoccurring revenue. So
real quickly before we go any further, you mentioned the brand, the Hustle brand. I want to give you the opportunity to talk about, how can folks get a hold of you, the Hustle, and the Hustle Foundation?
So to get in touch with me, obviously, Instagram, you can always send me a DM. It's, Willing to Thrive. That's Willing, the number 2, and then Thrive. Of course, they can check out www.thehustlefoundation.org. Or, they can also do thehustlemad.com. So, there's 3 ways that they can definitely get in touch with us, and somebody will be in touch.
And I'm blessed to be a part of this, Mo, and I'm sure you're going to, get some of the fruits of that labor. But, we've got some exciting things on the horizon for the Hustle Foundation.
We do.
Do you want to kind of talk about what that looks like?
Yeah. Right now we're in a process of building everything out, from the marketing campaigns and the website and everything. Website's almost done. And then for 2025, we're going to hit it extremely hard.
Yeah. Facts.
We got golf tournaments scheduled. We got a gala going to be happening in December, a Christmas gala, amongst other small networking events and partnerships that we've been working on. I had the opportunity and blessing to sit down with Ryan Stewman over at Apex.
Shout out to Stewie.
Yeah.
And
Stewie's on the podcast.
And work, and talk with him. We're looking at doing something to where part of our scholarship funds will send our entrepreneurs into the Apex program and pay for a year membership for them, so they can learn networking and business optimization and processes and such like that we're really excited about. So a lot of good stuff's coming in a very short period of time. So it's been a blessing.
What are you looking forward to the most in regard to the foundation?
My first true scholarship to give away. Yeah.
We're not just going to do one, though.
No, we're not just doing one, but that first one is going to mean a lot. And so that person is already in the running, and I already have my mind kind of on them. And so, but I'm not going to mention any names, but it's really going to mean a lot to be able to do that.
And this is kind of cliche, and we don't want to know the name or the person, but why is it going to mean so much to you?
Because this kid has been through hell, and has stood his ground and still standing and completely smart and going into software development and coding and such. So I think it's time for him to really be rewarded for all the hard work and the labor and everything that he's put in.
You know, one of the things I think is super important is whenever you get to a specific stage or phase within your professional and personal life, it's the ability to reach back and lift somebody else up, right? Like, it's fantastic to make all this money. It's great to be successful, but what does it really mean if you're not impacting others, right?
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, if you want to leave a legacy, you're not going to leave a legacy making a bunch of money. You're going to leave a legacy by making an impact in other people's lives.
Empowering others.
Yep.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love everything that you're doing. I'm tremendously blessed just to, rub shoulders and elbows with you, pretty much on a daily basis, and seeing the hustle, no pun intended, right, that we're putting into this, and it's been really. And I would tell you that you're coming from a place of authenticity and being very genuine about it, which is one of the reasons why when you approached me about it, like I was 10 toes down with you, and I will always be 10 toes down with you because I know the mark of the character that you have, and your drive and your willingness to help others to be successful. So I do want to tip my hat to you and say I'm proud of who you are, and I'm proud of who I'm working alongside to help make this vision an actual reality.
I appreciate that. You're going to make Mo want to come join.
Hey, I'm sure we can talk about some things online.
We need to get OTM to be a donor and a sponsor. We are in the process of raising funds for the Hustle Foundation. So if you are interested in supporting, you like the message, please reach out to us. You can shoot us a DM at the Vision Lab Podcast, or you can get with Will at Willing2, the number 2, Thrive, or you can go to the website, thehustlefoundation.org.
Awesome. Shout out to you.
Yeah, man.
Shout out to you for making time for us again, Chief. I appreciate it.
It's an open door policy. So I've got to ask, this is the Vision Lab. So what is the long-term vision for the Hustle / the Hustle Foundation?
So for the Hustle Foundation, the long-term goal is to really, it's funny that you said this, it's to really make its mark in being the organization that creates leaders for tomorrow. So young entrepreneurs, when they're growing up and going through this, and they decide, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want it to be that benchmark to where they're like, I know I need to contact the Hustle Foundation when I'm ready to go.
And so like a follow-up to that would be, there's a lot of great nonprofits that exist. There's a lot of marketing companies that exist,
Absolutely.
Right? And again, big shout out to you, because it's never, we don't hate on anybody, right? Like, go do what you got to do. But what would you say is like and I hate to use this word, but like the competitive advantage or the unique selling proposition of the Hustle Foundation? Like, what can visionaries, what can people that want to support?
What's the line of demarcation?
What's the thing that visionaries and people that want to support, like, what can they see that will be different with our foundation from another?
So on a personal level, I think it's the emotional and the physical and a time commitment to the Hustle Foundation. There was one point where the Hustle Marketing and Design was at a struggle, and I went without without a salary, and I went and made some other stuff happen, got some consulting jobs, and did not take anything. And these consulting jobs carried along until it got back to where it needed to be. But the last thing that I was going to do was lay anybody off. And that was because I had that much passion in helping the people that we had. We're past that point, obviously, but I've taken that same drive and put it into the Hustle Foundation, and that's how I look at the young entrepreneurs that are coming up. You're going to succeed. Like you just are. And you may not like what we tell you, like, hey, this is how you need to use money. You may think you're going to use it for XYZ or for marketing, but you don't need that. You need to use it for this and have those transparent, those hard conversations, which you've heard me have with clients. And we're going to have those same conversations with people that are building businesses to ensure that they have the success that they want. I'm not saying that other people don't have those conversations, but I can guarantee you we're going to have those personal relationships with these people that go through our programs. And just like in the Hustle Marketing Design, I know every CEO's name and their wife or their husband's name and their kids and everything because of that relationship that I have with them. I'm going to carry on that same mentality into the Hustle Foundation and with these people coming through it.
So, and I think it's important for people to understand that you're hands-on. Right. This isn't like, hey, I'm going to do this to be flamboyant or for a tax write-off or whatever. Like this is personal. This isn't business. This is personal.
Very, very much so.
So, I love that. I absolutely love that.
I dig. Well, thank you again for your time, sir.
Yeah.
Definitely appreciate it. We have to be respectful of this gentleman's time and your time as well now. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ryan Mosley. He's Ryan Cuffey. Thank you again to Will Harris of The Hustle. And we'll see you guys next time on another great episode of the Vision Lab podcast.
Blessings.
Yep.